clutter of things, and we need to do so many things when we're here every Sunday, but worship and preaching of the Word are the two primary things, and there's other things that need to be done from time to time, and we just sometimes miss some things. And every once in a while the Lord just lays on my heart to do some things that in the moment I just feel like that if we respond there's going to be productivity. So if you're here today and you've been battling something in your body, there's something going on, and you've got the faith to come to the Lord today and say, I just need a touch from Him, and you understand it's not me, it's not this church, it's not the atmosphere, it's just you and Him, but you want to take a step of faith today and let us agree with you, why don't you just jump up and come up here, and let's pray before we move on. And there's things that I've noticed in my body that I've learned through the years to battle, to fight, and put under my feet, and address, and attack, and counterattack, and all those things. And 9 times out of 10, the warfare that I've learned to do on my own, it suffices, and no one even knows about what's going on. And there's times that something goes on in your body that you need some reinforcements. You know what I'm talking about? You need some backup. You need some people to stand in the gap. You need some people to agree with you. And there needs to be a time where you can just say, Lord, I've done all I know to do here, and unless you come through, I don't know what I'm going to do. And there's times that we're battling stuff that it's such a battle, it's even hard to pray, isn't it? Hard to pray sometimes when you're sick. Man, I got some really, really bad Chinese food last night. I only took one bite. It was so bad, as soon as I took a bite, it's like, this ain't right. It's like, this isn't sesame chicken. This is chicken, but not sesame chicken. And even after one bite, you wake up in the middle of the night, it's like, oh, just that one bite. And it's like, boy, I need to get up and do spiritual warfare, but I just really can't even move right now. I'm so sick. So it's hard, and you need someone to stand in the gap, but you don't want to wake up your wife, and you just lay there and suffer. And I thought, some of y'all are just laying there suffering, and you need some reinforcements in life. And while I'm having a little bit of fun with it, I'm also being very serious. And I just want us today to agree with whatever is going on. I don't care how little, how big. What it really is, what you think that it really is. It doesn't matter. He's your daddy, and my baby comes to me if she stubs her toe. I picked her up from the fitness center on Friday, and she said, Daddy, it hurts really bad right here. And it's like, instantly it's just like, I want to take that from her. I want to carry that myself, because that's how a father is. And so I'm poking. It's like, is it there? Is it there? And I'm thinking in my mind, now which side is the appendix on here? I remember. And then of course I asked her, so baby, how long has it been since you went poopy? And she said, it's been a bunch of days, Daddy. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, and then I began to talk to her about what my mom used to do when I was her age. And how many of you guys remember the enema days? So I'm just thinking we need to try prayer before we go to some of these other methods here. And in simple faith, when my daughter comes to me and she says, Daddy, I hurt, what she is telling me is, I'm in pain, I don't know what to do about this. And she just knows that somehow I'm going to know what to do, that I'm going to know how to fix it. And so we pray, or we medicate, we do whatever we need to do to fix it. In that situation, I made her go home and sit on the potty until the pain went away. And so, sometimes we need the Lord to move in our lives. And I just want you to know, I know what it's like to be in pain. I know what it's like to have something attacking your body, and you fight that thing, and fight that thing, and fight that thing, and then you have the head games. What's wrong? What's God trying to show me? Is it something I did? Is it something I didn't do? And we go through all kinds of weirdness, and God doesn't want us battling that stuff. He just wants us to simply come to Him, bring it to Him, if nothing else has worked, and just lay it at His feet and let Him do what only He can do. And then just leave it there. Trust Him with it, okay? Just trust Him with it. So why don't you just grab a hand beside of you. I think we're all in this little thing together today. And I'm so glad that you guys have come into a place of understanding, despite how you've raised and not attacking anything that we've ever done, how we've done it. I'm just glad you guys understand that getting God to move in our life is not based on how much we scrunch up our face, not how much we, not how loud we are, how soft we are, how emotional we get, how physical we get. It's just about simple faith. A child bringing their need to Daddy and saying, help. It's just that simple. And so I thank you for that today, Father. I thank you that in this simple moment of faith that you can do incredible miracles. Because, Lord, it's not about us, it's about you. And we're not going to try to labor and work to get our need met today. We're just going to come in simple faith. And I thank you, Lord, that every single person that has come up here today is worthy to be healed. Lord, this is not based on what we deserve or don't deserve. It's not based on a merit system. It's based on a relationship system. And I thank you, Lord, that we're your children. Even though some days we're better kids than other days, we're still your kids. And I thank you that you care about what's going on in our lives. And you care about what's going on in our bodies. When we hurt, Lord, you're just like I am with my baby, Lord. And you care and you want to take it. And today, Lord, we're coming up here in simple faith and we're saying, Father, we're asking you to take this. Take these infirmities from our bodies. And today, Lord, in simple faith, in your name, not my own, I declare healing over these people. Lord, in every sickness, every infirmity, everything they're battling, every condition, Lord, I don't care if it's cancer, I don't care if it's something going on with their blood, with their kidneys, with their heart, with their muscles, with their blood vessels, with their bones. I don't care what it is, Lord. Their eyesight, their hearing, Lord, their speech, their stomach. Lord, I speak to this body of Christ today, and I declare healing in the name above all names, the name that everything else must bow to, Yeshua. And I declare wholeness, wholeness over this body. And in simple faith, if you just receive that by saying amen, I'll take that. I'll take that. Give somebody a hug. Run back to your seats. Roll whatever it is you people do around here. Y'all are a diverse group of people. Beach Sunday. It wouldn't be Beach Sunday if we didn't have some beach stories to tell, right? And so we've had some good ones through the years, and I tell you, I remember the Beach Sunday, maybe the Beach Sunday sermons are the only ones that I ever really remember for some reason, but I tell you what, when I start looking through all the stories of the things that happened on a beach, it's incredible how some of the biggest things that happen in the Gospels happened on a beach. It's just amazing. And we're going to look at some stories today, stories that won't be new to you, stories that took place on a beach and maybe even preceding getting to the beach. And we're going to see what the Lord has to say to us in the midst of the season of being like Him. We're not going to deviate from our theme today. We're still talking about godliness, being like God. How is God? That's how we need to be like. We're made in His image. We carry the DNA of the Creator of the universe. And I'm believing more and more the older I get that the only reason that we're being less like Him is because we're ignorant to how He is. And we're still getting our minds renewed that church is not about refraining. Yes, there is holiness, and there's a matter of dealing with some things and separating ourselves from things that are destructive to our lives. But if we will get more focused on eating from the tree of life, instead of so focused, even distracted by eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, I'm telling you, we're going to find life and life abundant. And that's what this season is about. Learning how God is so we can learn how we're supposed to be. It's a season of education. Look at these two stories that are collected together in Luke chapter 8 that begins out on the sea. It says, one day Jesus said to His disciples, let's go over to the other side of the lake. And so they got into a boat and set out. And as they sailed, He fell asleep, talking about Jesus. And a squall. Can y'all say squall? Is that a word? We still use that word in these parts, don't we? Squall. Boy, it's quite a squall we had last night. I love that this NIV talks the way that we talk here in West Virginia. So they had a squall, and it came down on the lake so that the boat was being swamped. And they were in great danger. And the disciples went and woke Him, saying, Master, Master, we're going to drown. He got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters, and the storm subsided and all was calm. Where is your faith? He asked his disciples. In fear and amazement they asked one another, Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him. And they sailed to the region of the Gerasenes, or the Gadarenes, which is across the lake from Galilee. And when Jesus stepped ashore on the beach, he was met by a demon-possessed man from the town. And for a long time, this man had not worn clothes, and he lived in a house, but had lived in the tombs, which was little caves carved out of the hillside. And when he saw Jesus, he cried out and fell at his feet, shouting at the top of his voice, What do you want with me? Jesus, which is a sign, by the way, that there's something going on more than meets the eye, because he knew Jesus' name, Son of the Most High God, and he knew the position that he sat in. I beg you, don't torture me. For Jesus had commanded the evil spirit to come out of the man. Many times it had seized him, and though he was chained hand and foot and kept under guard, he had broken his chains and had been driven by the demon into solitary places. And Jesus asked him, What is your name? Legion, he replied, because many demons had gone into him. And they begged him repeatedly not to order them to go into the abyss. A large herd of pigs was feeding there on the hillside. The demons begged Jesus to let them go into them. And he gave them permission. And somebody say, deviled ham. Just a day going to the beach for Jesus. Just one day in the life of Jesus, on his way to the beach and arriving at the beach. This story reminds me of life, that even when you're on the way to the beach, a lot of things don't happen the way that you would expect or hope they would happen. We were talking about this weekend, my wife and I, celebrating our anniversary, and it's always a time we try to get away and catch up on our conversation and just talk about what's going on in life, what has went on in life, and, what have we been missing in the last year from each other's, busy schedules. And we just got to reminiscing, and we got to talking about the beach and some beach trips, and we got to talking about a beach trip that we took in the winter. It was probably January, February, a bunch of years ago, and I don't remember how many years ago it was, but how old was Sarah that trip? 4 or 5. Hannah had not even been thought of yet. And so us and the Farees, we said, let's just get out of here and go to Myrtle Beach for a few days. If you go down in the winter, you can get a room for like $5 or something down there. And it's like, let's go down and get a really nice place with indoor pools and lazy rivers and just get some good food and spend 2 or 3 days and just relax. And so we decided we were going to do that. And so we loaded up all in one big vehicle, right? And took off to the beach. And now, I don't know about you, but when I drive to Myrtle Beach now, it's about a 5.5, 6 hour trip, depending on how many females are in the car with me. It could be a 6 hour trip, it can be an 8 hour trip, just depending on how many potty breaks you got to take. I'm the kind of guy, I'm like most men. If it took me 5 hours and 48 minutes last time, it has to be done in 5 hours and 47 minutes or less this time, because it's a competition for men. It always is. And so we took off. It was on a Sunday, and we took off to church, after church, and so let's go pack some bags. Let's take off down there, and we're going, because we'll still get down there by dark or about that time. It won't be a big deal, and we'll get settled in, and then we'll have some fun. And so we get in the vehicle, and we take off to Myrtle Beach, and I'm telling you, it's like this is the longest Myrtle Beach trip of my entire life. To this day, I do not know what took us so long to get down there. I guess because there were so many kids in the car and so many potty breaks or something. But, man, it's like it took us like 10 hours to get to the beach. And it's like, what is going on here? By the time we got there, we were exhausted. So we went to this hotel that was there between North Myrtle and Myrtle, this area that we like to go to where there's not so much busyness. And we had reserved this room, and it looked nice, and there was a lazy river, and we wanted a lazy river for the kids. And so we get in the parking lot, and we go in, and as we're going into the lobby, we're walking through the pool area, and I notice that the lazy river is dry, and there's some guy in there with a paintbrush slapping paint on it. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? So we go, and it's like, what's up with the lazy river? And it's like, well, we're remodeling. It's like, you probably should have tell people that before they come down here, because we've got a bunch of kids and the lazy river is really key. And we said, well, we're not going to stay here, if the lazy river is broken. She said, well, we're the only hotel around here in this area anywhere that's got a lazy river. And it's like, wow, well, that's disappointing. And I said, well, let's just go down the road anyway. So we went next door to the place we stayed several times through the years, and of course they had a lazy river. And it was even bigger than the place that we first stopped at. But by the time we get there, and by the time that we find out this hotel's not going to work, and we go to this hotel, it's just gotten so late, and we're so tired, and we're so exhausted. But we get to the hotel, and we're up on what floor was it? It was like I don't know, the 10th or 12th, 14th floor. I know we were up close to the very, very top. High hotel. And we get on the elevators and we go up, and we're finally in our room, and we walk in the room, and it's a nice suite. It's made for all of us. And we walk in, and little Sarah Foree, she's about 4 years old, and she looks through the room and she sees the balcony out there, and she takes off running because she's so excited. There's a balcony, there's a balcony. And she's running, and it's like suddenly things go into slow-mo because you see where this thing is going. It's like she does know there's glass between here and there, right? And she's just running, and bam, right into the sliding glass door. Good news is they use their Windex around there, I guess. And she smacks the door, and she bounces off and lands on the floor, and she's just kind of stunned, and blood starts squirting out. You know how this thing goes. And so here we are. We're exhausted. We're tired. Now we got a 4-year-old with a busted nose. Blood's going everywhere. She's screaming. She's crying. And in that moment, of course, as life would have it, the fire alarm goes off in the whole hotel. And we're looking around, and they're making announcements. Everybody get out of the hotel, and they're saying, the elevators aren't working. Hit the stairs. Get out of here. The place is going to burn to the ground. It's like, oh my gosh, we're on the 14th floor. And so we grabbed the kids, and we got one squirting blood. I'm telling you, everyone's tired. Everyone's got to go to the bathroom. Everyone was lined up trying to get in there. No time for that. Let's get out of here. The place is going to burn. We grab the kids. We go down 14 flights of steps. We get out in the parking lot. Here comes the fire department. They're all going in, and we're standing out. And half of them had already changed into real quick to their PJs, and we're all standing out there. It's like such a mess. And finally, we get the all clear sign, and someone comes out and says, "Well, you guys can go back to your rooms now. It was nothing." And it's like, okay, that's nice. And they said, oh, but it's going to be a while before the fire department does whatever they got to do to get the elevators working again. So you can either hang out for a while, or you can walk up to your rooms. And so we walk back up to the rooms because we don't know how long it's going to take. And it's like this trip is not really panning out the way that we thought when we left this morning after church. We're getting in the car. We're giddy. We're excited, man. We're going to go relax. We're going to have some carrabas, man. We're going to play in some warm swimming pools, get out of the snow for a while. And this is not what we were expecting. Life has a way of throwing you a bunch of curveballs, and have you noticed how they come packaged sometime? It's not just one. It's like things happen in series. And I think about that day, and I look at this day of Jesus, and this whole thing starts with him saying, let's get in the boat and go to the other side. And they're there at the Sea of Galilee. It's really not a sea. It's actually the largest freshwater lake in Israel. It's 13 miles wide, 33 miles long, and it's pretty deep. At the deepest point, it's 141 feet deep. It's also called the Lake Gennesaret. It's also called Lake Tiberias. Most commonly, it was called the Sea of Galilee, even though technically it wasn't a sea. But it had beaches. And a lot of history was taking place on this beach of the Sea of Galilee. It was famous not only because of the water itself and because most of the fishing came out of that lake. A lot of business in Israel came from that lake. The Jordan River is what fed that lake. And so life in Israel revolved around the Jordan and feeding into the Sea of Galilee. And that's why a lot of the stories in the Gospels somehow has this lake in the center of it. This whole story starts with Jesus saying, let's get in the boat and let's go to the other side. On the other side of the lake is an area that was called Decapolis. It was 10 cities. And it was a place that prior to this there was no record of Jesus and them going over together as a group. And so it's going to be a new experience for them. They're going to go to the other side of the lake. They're going to land on a beach that together they've never landed on. They're going to visit some areas around the beach that they've probably never been to together before. And my guess is that when they got in the boat, they were probably pretty excited about it. They were looking forward to it. Oh, we've never been there together before. Probably all of them separately had been there. But have you noticed that when you go to the beach with some other people, it's more fun than when you go by yourself? It's a lot more fun, isn't it? And so he says, let's get in the boat and let's go to the other side. And so it's like, yeah, this is a good plan. Let's go check out the beach on the other side and check out some of the markets and some of the restaurants in Decapolis. This is going to be great. And so they get in the boat, and Jesus, I guess, the rocking of the waves or something, man, it's just got this guy going, whoa. And he's getting sleepy. And so he goes down into the belly of the boat, and he's going to take him a nap, and he's sleeping. And a squall breaks out of the blue, as life would have it. Everything's fine. You're on a nice boat ride, and a squall breaks out. And these squalls happen up in the sky. If you know much about them, the skies gather with dark clouds, and it starts getting windy, and rain begins to gather, and thunder and lightning. And they're literally, it's almost like water becomes a magnet to these things. It's like you can see them gather together and come down. You can actually see them come down and set down right up on the waters. If you've ever been around the ocean or even large lakes when you've seen these squalls come in. This thing comes out of nowhere. Next thing you know, the boat is tossing and turning. And the Bible does say that the boat was taking on water and that it was getting swamped. So they're freaking out. So they wake Jesus up. Jesus gets up. He's stretching. He's yawning. What's going on? It's like, well, we're sinking here. We're about to die. And they even said, don't you care that we're all about to die here? Now, my thought is if Jesus really thought that he was going to die, that he would care. Would you not think that he would think that way? If we're going to die here, I really do care about that. So Jesus looks at the disciples freaking out. He makes some rude comment about their faith, and then he speaks to the winds and he calms the storm. So they've started on this journey. Already a storm has come out of nowhere. They weren't expecting it. Now they've had to wake Jesus up. He's insulted their faith. This trip is not starting the way that they hoped. But it's bound to get better because they're almost at the beach. You ever been on a journey to the beach and the trip there wasn't exactly what you hoped for? You know, you got babies crying. Remember when you used to take your babies? We started taking Hannah to the beach when she was just a little bitty papoose, and all you know, babies never poop till you get in the car. Never. They never. And then they've got all kinds of problems, and they're just getting irritable. And the trip, and it's like, I can't wait till we get to the beach so we can relax, because the trip here is not going as planned. And that's the way it was with Jesus and the disciples. But they're almost at the beach. And so they pull up on the beach, and here. We're finally at the beach. And there's a welcoming committee waiting on them when they arrive at the beach. And that's nice, isn't it? You go to Hawaii and you get off the plane. If you've ever been to Hawaii, you know what's going to greet you there, right? Some cute girls in grass skirts and some of these, and they put them around your neck and give you a little kiss on the cheek, and right away it's just like, it's good to be in Hawaii. And so there was a welcoming committee for Jesus and the disciples as they pull up on the beach. It wasn't a cute girl in a grass skirt, but he was naked. And he did come out and greet them on the beach. And he was a demoniac. And this dude had been messed up, evidently, for many, many years. He lived in the tombs. He was naked. There was so much supernatural stuff going on in him that he couldn't even be controlled. They had tried to bind him in chains at different times, it appears, and he would break the chains. There was something really freaky going on with this guy. And he comes running out to the beach, and there's so much supernatural activity. These hordes of hell know who the Son of God is, and they know potentially what he could do when he gets there in where they're at. And so they're coming up saying, Jesus, why have you come here? We know why you're here. You've come here to torment us. Right away, you get to the beach, and you're hit with this naked lunatic that's just all over you. And you've got all these demons talking to you. Oh, why have you come here to torment us? We know who you are. You're the Son of God, and you've just come here to give us a hard time. And he's like, no, I've come to the beach to relax. I've come to get away. And so these demons are playing a little game now, and They know that they're going to be cast out because this is the Son of God. And they say, well, since we know you're going to cast us out, can we at least go into the pigs over here? And so Jesus is like, for whatever reason, to this day, I cannot give you an explanation why Jesus said, yeah, go ahead and go into the pigs. They didn't live there long, by the way, because the pigs went bananas. As you know the story, they jumped over the cliff and into the ocean, into the sea, and they drowned. Where they went from there, I have no idea. And if you know the rest of the story, not everybody was happy about the deliverance of this demoniac, especially the farmers who owned the pigs. They were very, very upset. And not only them, but the people in the closest town there came out to see what all the commotion was, and they're seeing this guy who used to be naked, living in the cemetery, and going around just being crazy, and now this dude is delivered, he's normal, he's been set free, and now they're upset about that, and they're scared. And it's like everyone is unhappy, from the demons to the townspeople. Nobody is happy in this place. And so you know what Jesus does? He says, let's get back in the boat, let's go back home. They didn't even stay there. Just another day at the beach. Here's what I want you to see in this story. Because in this season we're talking about discovering the nature of God expressed in the earth through the person of Jesus Christ, His Son. Jesus was the picture of God. God is spirit. You can't see Him. So there's confusion. How is He? So Jesus comes, God in flesh, to say, since you didn't get the introduction at creation, let me reintroduce myself. And we begin to see a side of God's nature here displayed through Jesus that is a very interesting nature that sometimes we don't see showing up in our life too much. But it seems to be a very, very valuable commodity. And when I look at this story through the eyes of a pastor who spends lots and lots of hours, I spend thousands of hours a year counseling with people, helping people work through all kinds of issues in life, responding to people's needs. By the way, I want to be there. It's not just my job, it's my heart. I want to be there. My point is that life is constantly throwing curveballs, and I have noticed that more people than not often do not handle those curveballs very well. There's a side of God here, part of God's DNA is expressed through Jesus that I want you to see here, and it actually is just mirroring something we saw in the Father clear back at creation. And I want to use a word here that may not be a word that we use too often, but I can't find a better word. And the word is poise. Poise. Some would say, well, what are some other words for that? Here's some other words that I've looked at that would represent the same thing. Steady, anchored, calm, firm, resolute, sturdy. Some might even use the word courageous. What I want you to see is that Jesus, who is the pattern, how many of you guys understand that Jesus is the pattern for us? How many's ever said or sang songs that said, to be like Jesus, to be like Jesus? That's all I ask, to be like Him. I love that song. I had it in my heart last night that one of the great worship leaders who's a pastor now, Clint Brown, wrote years ago. We used to do it here, Terry, all the time. I want to be more like you. I want to be a vessel you work through. I want to be more like you. And it's the cry of our heart. I want to be like Jesus. I want to be like Jesus. I want to be like Jesus. And we look at Jesus and His character and His makeup, and we look at all the things we've talked about with the character of God, His creative ability, His sense of optimism, His ability to imagine, His ability to be a visionary. We've talked about all these things throughout the summer about God. And I want you to see there's some things that miss our ability to see sometimes, and they're very, very important things. Last week we talked about God as Father Time and time management, a very, very, very important message for us. I just want those of you who got early morning phone calls from me this week to know I wasn't always kissing the frog when you heard from me. those of you that were here and came to the altar know what I'm talking about. How many of you guys applied that technique of kissing the frog this week? Anybody? I had several people call me and say, Pastor Scott, I've learned to kiss the frog this week, and it's incredible the trickle-down effect in my life. I've had more positive feedback this week, probably, since last Sunday than I've had in maybe in a few years here, because people have taken some things and applied it, and already you're seeing the difference in your life. Here's another area that I also would say is very, very important, and we miss it. It's the nature of God that I would call poise. We see it early on in creation when God puts all of His eggs in this basket we call earth. And He spends quality time creating the scenery and building the environment. He's got everything just right. And then He creates man in His image. This will be His very offspring. And they will have His heart, and they will have His attention. Everything about God is being zeroed in right here on this thing that we call man, human beings. And they're walking together in the cool of the day, and they're fellowshipping, and God has got this thing that was lacking from His life, relationship. And everything's going good till one day God comes to the garden to spend time with Adam, and He can't find Adam. Adam and Eve has been seduced by the serpent, and they have fallen into sin, and everything now has changed in the connection between God and man. But we see that God is very cool, calm, and collected about it. He makes decisions and He does what He's got to do. But we see that God is not a God that begins to fall apart and freak out. And we see that Jesus is a chip off the old block. Jesus is asleep in the boat, and the squall kicks up, and there's a storm. And of course, we understand spiritually it represents the storms of life that come out of nowhere. And the disciples are freaking out. And they wake Jesus up and they said, don't you care that we're all about to perish here? Jesus didn't dignify that with an answer because it's a stupid question. Does Jesus care that we're about to perish here? But there should be an indicator there that if Jesus was asleep, maybe things were not as out of control as they thought. He rebukes them for their lack of faith. By the way, does anybody here understand now the context of Him saying, where's your faith? I grew up many years ago where this story was presented in the light that we're supposed to have the faith to speak to the storm. We're supposed to have the faith to speak to the winds and say, peace, be still. And Jesus is rebuking them because it's like, why'd you wake me up to this? Why didn't you do it yourself? I want you to know that is not a... Though we can apply that to the story, that is not an upper level of faith. Jesus was the man of faith. Jesus' first response was not to speak to the storm. Jesus' first response was to rest through the storm. It's very important that you hear this today. The first response of the one that we're supposed to be like was not to speak to the storm and make it go away. The first response of the one that we're supposed to be like was to rest through the storm. Day 7, a day of rest. The day that Hebrews says is now our destiny, our very covenant, if we can learn how to enter it. He says, where's your faith? He wasn't saying, where's your faith to speak to the storm. He was saying, where is your faith to rest, to be at ease? He was saying, where is your faith to keep your poise in the middle of an unexpected storm? Very important that you hear this, because the church, especially in charismatic and Pentecostal circles, we go straight to those lower level faiths and we present them and project them as though they are the upper echelon realms of faith, when in fact they're not. An upper echelon realm of faith is not to have a prayer chain for the sick to be healed. The upper echelon realm of faith is to lay hands on people and to speak to them and see the healing right there in the moment. We present all kinds of realms of faith, and they may be good, but they're not best. And Jesus is saying, where's your faith? Why are you freaking out? Why did you lose your poise? You've been traveling with me. You've been walking with me. You've been learning from me. You've been hearing my words of life. Why'd you lose your poise so quick? They get to the beach. They've already encountered an unexpected storm of life. Now they get to the beach, and now they're encountering an unexpected demoniac. The hordes of hell, darkness, spiritual warfare hits them right between the eyes as soon as they get to the beach. Now, I don't know about you, but I read these stories, and I don't try to act all uppity about it and say, boy, I'd have done exactly what Jesus did, because I've been, Gary, I've been in situations with naked demoniacs. Weren't you with us that first trip to Ghana? You remember it. Started heading up towards the jungle, stopped at this city before we got there. Got out there with this big area with a little marketplace around there. Trash everywhere. It was disgusting. And we're standing there with John Waffle and these guys that are taking us to the jungle. And here comes walking this dude, man, right down through the middle of the field, through the whole area. Naked as a jaybird. Got a big old stick. Didn't he have a big stick or something in his hand? Yeah, it had nails in it. It's like, and this dude's just walking, and of course, no one else seems to be freaking out. I guess they're all WWJD and pretty good there in Ghana, but the four of us, we just weren't used to seeing stuff like that. And we're asking, like, is this safe? Is this okay? Do we need to tackle him? Do we need to run? Do we need to have an exorcism? What do we need to do here? You know, Brother John's like, oh, yes, there's something wrong with him. It's like, you think? I mean, there's good naked and there's bad naked if you've ever watched Seinfeld. This was bad naked, I'm telling you. So I'm thinking, if I get off the boat at the beach, and this demoniac, this naked dude that's been living in the tombs, probably hasn't bathed in years, comes running down to me. You know, the dude's got rancid breath, man. You can see just bugs coming out of his hair. And I don't know why I always picture these people, demoniacs, to have dreadlocks. I don't know why that is. I don't know what I saw somewhere. I know what it is. It was the Rastas down in Jamaica, man, because they all had yellow eyes because all of them had been doing drugs, and they had all kinds of blood diseases. They had these big yellow eyes and all had dreadlocks, and somehow I always associated that with demoniacs. And I'm sorry, I'm piecing some things together. I didn't mean to do that out loud. Sometimes the brain flows through the mouth before I can stop it. But I'm just thinking, if I get off at the beach and this naked demoniac comes running up to me, I'm just not going to be as poised as Jesus was. And instantly, he's going there maybe to relax, but now he's hit square in the face with spiritual warfare and an opportunity for ministry. It's not what he was expecting. It's not what any of the disciples were hoping for or imagining. But it is what it is. It's happening. He's got these demons talking to him. They're arguing with him. They're debating. They're trying to negotiate with him. And Jesus is just staying cool as a cucumber, man. He's keeping his poise. He's firm. He's steady. He's resolute. He deals with the situation. And then he just moves on. He does what he's got to do, and he moves on. Poise. It's an attribute of God that we're not intentionally trying to adhere to the way that we need to. When storms of life come out of nowhere. When suddenly we're faced with spiritual warfare that we were not expecting. You guys know, on any given day, you know, our weekend, it was great because we were together. But I'm telling you, it's like every place we went, everything that started from Friday on, from our cell phone company messing up our phone bill. And it's like, I've told this company, and I'll resist calling them by name today. We hadn't had a contract with them for years, because every time we had a contract with them, the bill was never right. It was never what they told it was going to be. So we said, we're just not going to have phone contracts anymore. But we get new phones, and they say, but we can give you this, this, and this. Okay, we're going to try it one more time. It's been a few years. Maybe they've improved. But no, with the very first bill, it's twice as much as they told us. Half the perks are missing out of it. It's all messed up, and we're arguing with them for 3 days. In the meantime, Thursday night, I have a dream that I'm in a situation, I need my cell phone, and I pull it out, and my cell phone's been cut off. Sure enough, you know what happens Friday, right? I'm in a situation, I need to make a call, and I pull my phone out of my pocket. It says, I get a little pop-up box. It says, I'm sorry, but... It's like, this is not good timing. She's getting off work early. We're getting ready to leave town. I need my phone. So now she's on the phone for an hour and a half arguing with these people. We can't get them to do what they said they were going to do. So we finally just put, pin it so I can get this back on. We'll argue with you when we get back. And it's like from there on, everywhere we went, every restaurant we ate at, it's like they dug through the dumpster and found the most rancid stuff they could find to feed us. It's like we're paying money for food that human beings really shouldn't even be eating. Everywhere we go, it's like no one's doing what they should be doing. We're paying people for services and we're not getting it. It's like, and she just kept saying, but it's just good that we're together. It's like, that's right. We're enjoying the views here, and we're just enjoying the hikes and the trails, and it's just like, yeah, we're not going to let this, we are bound, and I knew what I was preaching today, and I knew I could not get up here unless at least this weekend I could practice what I preached. So I did so good this weekend. I kept my poise, and it's like no one ruffled my feathers, and it's like, and everyone tried. Everybody tried. Everybody went out of their way. Half the people I dealt with, even though they had clothes on, were demoniacs this weekend. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Everywhere I went. But I got to tell you something. I got to tell you something. I don't always do it. I'd like to think that I keep my poise more than I don't, but I don't always do it. But I got to tell you something. There is something incredibly empowering about keeping your poise. Incredibly empowering. It's empowering when you intentionally keep your poise in the face of unexpected storms and unexpected spiritual warfare. It's incredible. Rains that come in out of nowhere on beach day when we're supposed to have a picnic, a baptism, and a pool party. I'm keeping my poise because the sun's going to come back out, and we're having a picnic, and we're having a baptism, and we're going to swim. It is the nature of God expressed through Jesus Christ that we learn to take courage, to take heart in life. Jesus said one of His greatest statements before He left. He said, take heart. He said, in this world, you're going to have troubles. He said, but take heart. Be of courage. Maintain your poise, because I've already overcome everything. I want to throw 3 things at you real quick today. 3 things that could be ingredients to poise. It's not like last week. They don't start with the same letter and they don't rhyme. None of that stuff. It's just 3 areas that I've seen and through experience especially learned that we need to add these ingredients to our life to maintain our poise so that when those unexpected things happen, we can be steady, firm, resolute, keep our focus in life. Here's the first thing we got to start doing, American Christians. We've got to get out of our little boxes and start exposing ourselves to life and the stuff that's going on in life. We're living too sheltered, so when something happens that is kind of a normal thing that would happen, it's becoming too big of a deal to us because we're not keeping ourselves in a situation out there in life where we're used to these things happening, so when they do happen, we freak out. Some of you were raised in homes where maybe your parents, it would probably be your mom in most situations, maybe a grandma or someone that was always forecasting calamity over your life, everything you went to do. Stay away from that pond. You kids are going to drown down there. Get off that ladder. You kids are going to fall off and break your neck. Everything you went to do, somebody was saying, get away from that because there's danger there. Don't you know you will perish if you do that? Some of you grew up in homes now where now you fight lots of fears and insecurities and because of that, and now there's things that happen in your life that you're falling apart that in reality it's not as big a deal as you're making it. So what do? Well, first thing we want to do if we've got kids, make sure we're raising them different. I heard a guy this week that was just, or something we read actually, talking about with the kids, to make sure that you're getting your kids at a very young age, even when they're babies, taking them out, put them in the lawn. I remember the first time I set Hannah down in the grass, and she reached out and she started feeling it, and it was weird, and she's getting insecure about it. I hold her up, it's between her toes, and she's wanting me to put her back on the sidewalk because she's used to that. It's like, no, take your kids, put them out there. Put them in the dirt. Put them in the grass. Let them get dirty. They do come clean. You can wash them. Give them a stick. Give them a rock. They're not going to poke their eye out near as much as you think they're going to. Just because they have a rock doesn't mean you've got to call the glass guy. Get them out there. Get them in some water. Get them when they're young. Get in the river. Wade around. Hold their hands. Let them feel what life is like so they won't be so insecure and freaking out when they get older. Now, what do we do if we're adults and we say, it's too late for me? Got to get out there, man. I talked to someone just the other day. It said, oh, so we heard you're taking your mommy to the beach. I said, yeah, she's never been on a beach vacation before. She's coming, and we're going to take her in September. It's going to be her first beach experience. And this lady said, well, I've never been to the beach, and same age as my mom. I said, really? She said, yeah, I don't want to go down there. Oh, Lord, down there, all those waves and that water and stuff, people drown down there. You know what she told me? She said, except for one time when she was a young lady, when she went like to Roanoke or something like that, she said, I've never been out of Mercer County. This is a person who was afraid of everything, insecure, doesn't take anything to rattle her and just her life fall apart. Hasn't been exposed to life. The more you expose yourself to, the more that it's just going to become normal to you. If you've been around here, you know, people ask me, so how was your day? I said, nobody died. It was a pretty good day. That's my scale for life. If I end a day as a pastor in a church this size, and because there's about 500 people that would say, Cornerstone Family Church is my home, and they're here on some kind of reasonable consistency. Now, that's a lot of people to go to the ER, to get sick, to have somebody die, or be in the process of dying. To have marriage problems, to have children problems, to have financial problems. Man, we just work through it. People come in, I say, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. But we're freaking out over stuff that we're not supposed to freak out. We've got to get out there, push ourselves, expand your horizons. Get out there in life, man. Enlarge your boundaries. Dovetailed into that. We've got to take a deep breath and get some scale on some stuff. I have people come to me that's freaking out, falling apart. Haven't seen them in church maybe for a while. It's like, man, I've been missing you. What's going on? Well, man, I tell you, our life's just been upside down. It says, I'm sorry, I know we've been missing church. It's like, well, man, tell me what's going on. This is why I'm here. Tell me what's going on. Well, my Uncle Bill, you know, he broke his leg. It's like, oh, man, sorry. I don't know your Uncle Bill, but I'm sorry for him. It's like, yeah, and on top of that, my grandpa, you know, he's not doing too good, and he had to have hip surgery. It's like, okay. I'm still waiting on the punchline. Okay, I understand why your Uncle Bill's probably not having the best days right now, and your grandpa too. But you were just telling me that story like it was something that has happened to you. Now, you need to hear this, because I hear this all the time. People come to me all the time, and they'll just be falling apart. They'll be wrung out like a dish rag, man, and just like, oh, man, this life is just tough right now. What's going on? And they'll give me a list of 2 or 3 or 4 things, and I'll sit and I'll listen to it, and I'll go, now, wait a minute, did I just miss something? Because there wasn't a single thing on that list that was actually happening to you. People will tell me things as though it's something, like they say it like I'm going to hear them saying, well, I just broke my leg, and I just had to have hip replacement surgery. And we got to get some scale in life. It was so good, in a twisted sort of way, when your grandmother died last week. We just happened to call, how God is. Right as she had took her last breath, called to check on, well, she just now passed away. So we get in the car, we run down there, and all the families there have been with her. This had been just, her fight there at the end was just several days. It's like every breath's going to be the last breath. A lot of you guys have been in that situation. You just sit around with family, and you sit there together, because that's what you do till it's over. Walked in that house, she's still there, waiting on hospice to come pronounce her, and walk in the house, and there's the children, the grandchildren, bunch of great-grandchildren. A few people sitting around in tears, grieving. There's a loss. It's a person they've known their whole life, just a major icon in the family. But I walked in the room, and all I felt was peace. You know, just because there's grief doesn't mean there can't be peace. Just because we're sad doesn't mean there can't be comfort. And it's so good to walk in situations where people understand scale. Yes, we just lost this person in our family. And she was old, she had a lot of years, and we are going to miss her so much. But she knew Jesus. We know where she's at right now. And for her, it's all great. We're sad. We're grieving. But you know, while we're grieving, we realize there has been no tragedy in our home today. We have lost a family icon, and we're going to miss her. She's with Jesus. There's been no tragedy today. I go in situations where one of the family's got a hangnail, and every cousin, aunt, and uncle that lives in half the counties that are neighboring us are all there together, and you walk into it, and it's just everyone's just falling all over each other. It's just like, what is happening here? People need to get scale for the reality of what's going on in their life. We personalize things that are not personal. We immobilize ourselves from being able to be a minister, to be able to go into situations and bring comfort and bring ministry and be the rock and be firm, be the person that can go in there with words of wisdom. We negate ourselves from that because we're just like the world. We have no scale to our situations and we're just falling apart. We have no poise. We don't know how to embrace the unexpected storms of life, and they happen. Like I said, they always come in threes. Anyone here ever have just one thing break in your house over a week? We've been trying to figure that out. I got sick of it last week, thinking dishwasher went out, and right away it's like, might as well get the toolbox out because there's something right on its heels. You know what's going to happen. But it's interesting, sometimes if you put your foot against a dishwasher after taking it apart, wrestling with it, still can't get it going, still full of water. It's amazing if you use your foot as a tool in just the right place, how suddenly the pump can kick on and the dishwasher is working again. Sometimes you've got to stand in authority in life. We've got to get some scale to our life. I am dead serious when a day ends for me and someone says, "How was your day?" And I'll say, "Nobody died. It was a good day. Nobody got diagnosed with terminal illness today. I'm alive. My wife is alive. My daughter's alive. Nobody's dying here. It's been a darn good day. We still got food. We got a house to live in. We got cars to drive. I can see. I can taste. I can smell. I can go to the bathroom. I can walk. I can grab things. It's a darn good day." We've got to get scale. We are falling apart over things that even technically aren't even really our storms. Look, I'm around your all storm. I told at least two people just this week that I was in the ditch helping them work through some stuff, and I'm trying to help people learn to let go of this and learn to let go of that. You're taking this too personally. You're carrying burdens that aren't your burdens. Let go of this stuff. And I told this person that I loved so much, two people whom I love, I can't imagine life without them. I said, "You know, as much as I love you, as soon as you walk out of this office today, this is over for me. The emotion ends here as soon as you walk out of my office. I will not carry this. I can't help you if I carry you as a burden. I can't. If I get too emotional about your problems, I can't really be effective in your life." And we're getting all wound up about things that isn't even really happening to us. How many's got aunts and uncles and grandparents here? Cousins and all that. Stuff's going to happen to them, guys. When it happens to them, I want you to remember one thing. It's happening to them and not you. You need to be there to be a rock. Watch for opportunities in ministry. You need to be the soother, the comforter, watching for opportunities. We've got to get scale for life. Sometimes maybe we should say it this way: we just need to get a life. What you're calling a storm is probably just a breeze. But you don't have proper scale. Jesus said to the disciples, "Where is your faith? Where's your faith to rest through this?" We've got to expose ourselves to life. Get out there and stretch ourselves so that these little things won't become so big. We've got to take a deep breath and get some scale to this thing. And last of all, to draw on a beach Sunday sermon from years gone by, you've got to make yourself remember who's in the boat with you. Who's in the boat? Who's in the boat? Well, if God's in the boat, you know it's going to float. Right? Now, look at this picture. And you tell me, if you were one of the disciples, if you would not be a little bit embarrassed after the fact. You're in a boat with the Son of God. He's the creator of the universe. Storms don't upset him. He created the storms. The wind, the waves. He's in the boat with you. The storm kicks up. You're freaking out, and you're trying to wake up God and ask God if He is aware that you're about to perish. No, thank you for waking me up. Yes, though they call me God, I really am not all-knowing. Unless you would have told me, I would have never known anything. Thank you for waking me up, because we would have all died here. God's in the boat. And the simplest starting point of faith has to be for us to remember, I'm in Him and He's in me. And there's never anything that happens in my life that is outside of His awareness. He's very aware. Just because He's not reacting to it doesn't mean He doesn't know. Look, we get upset because God's not reacting to our storms. We're mad the same reason they were mad. You're sleeping through my storm, God. Yeah, well, that's because I'm in the boat with you, and if God's in the boat with you, the boat's going to be okay. But it's being swamped. Well, so we're going to turn it into a submarine, but we're still going to be okay. We've got to get scale back to our life. Jesus said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. He told the disciples, where's your faith? Let's put context to that. He's saying, where is your faith just to relax in life? We've got to come to a place where we can allow life to happen around us, where we're not constantly in reactory mode. That's all we do. We spend our whole lives reacting to unexpected things in life. It could be dishwashers. It could be a change on your job. It could be a tiff in your marriage. It could be a sickness that just occurred somewhere in your home. We are constantly reacting to things. And that's not God's destiny for our life. We've got to get into a place where life can happen without those things consuming us. People are going to die, and dishwashers are going to break down, and cars are going to break down, and jobs are going to come, and jobs are going to go. And sometimes you pay your bills and there's money left over to go to Outback, and sometimes you got to go take an extra job at Outback to pay your bills. It's just life, and life is going to happen. But if you're going to find life and life abundant, Jesus said, I've come to give you life, life abundant. The word there means above and beyond. Saying life for you is just sustaining and holding on and reacting and trying to get through another day. He said, I've come to give you something above that. But for that to happen, you've got to learn to live above that. Guys, we've got to get scale to our life. Either He's in us or He's not. Either He's walking with us or He's not. Either He cares about us and He loves us or He doesn't. But if all that's true and you believe that, then we've got to calm down and stop freaking out. We're too nervous. We're too filled with anxiety. And please hear this within the context of what I'm saying, because I'm a person that actually believes that there's some people who need to be more medicated than what they actually are. But we're way over-medicated in America, in the church. We're medicating things because we haven't learned how to handle life. We haven't learned how to handle life. And if we're going to be the witnesses in the earth that we've been called to be, we've got to learn to stop reacting, keep our poise, be of good courage, stay steady, stay firm, so we can keep on plowing through this thing and be the light of Jesus Christ in the earth. I don't know about you, but if you come to me and you try to witness to me about Jesus and I see you're falling apart, you're more nervous than a cat in a room full of rocking chairs all the time, I don't know if your witness is going to carry much with me. I just don't know. I want to see a rock. I want to see strong. It doesn't mean that we don't have times of weakness. Again, it has nothing to do with grieving. It has nothing to do with being sad, dealing with loss. It's not what I'm talking about. It doesn't mean that there's not shocks and surprises in life. It's like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. But it means that we take a deep breath and we remember, wait a minute,
God's in the boat with me.